Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar, IEDC webinar on the Advanced Management Program. We'll wait for a couple of more minutes before starting, as attendees are joining. Yes, the room is filling up. My name is Vera Pasenko. With most of our participants, we've been on emails and you got information about this webinar from me. I am today joined by three of our professors, three lecturers that are delivering all the three modules of Advanced Management Program of IEDC in Belgrade. I'll be very happy now to pass the floor to Professor Drikus Kriek, who will be opening the program. So, Professor Kriek, thank you.
Welcome and thank you very much, Vera. It's really nice for you all to join and very nice for me also to say a little bit about the program and very specifically also the part that I will do. I'm sure you're all aware that the program consists of these three separate modules that each of us take responsibility for and what we will discuss today. The first one being, as you will see on the screen, leading for high performance, the one I take responsibility for. Then Professor Filipović will, November, do the very important part of critical thinking and decision making and its role and impact on a business and organization. And then finish with a third and the final one in December by Dr. Nick Wake, who will talk about project management and very specifically also link the work around leadership and teams, but also the decisions that we make and make sure that that actually hits the ground and that it actually gets implemented. So since I'm the first one in this troika, it's my pleasure to share with you a few things that we will discuss during the 3 days that we will be together in October. First of all, we see there that the topic interlinks two very critical parts of modern day business. One relating to leading and the other one to high performance. And very specifically where that takes place is, for the most part, that takes place in our ability to lead different systems, large organizations, but very specifically also leading our teams. And therefore, the focus of these 3 days will sit around the issue fact that we spend so much time in teams, various teams, simultaneous teams that we have of kind of like completely different nature, focus, and vision, yet we have to be able to perform in that. We have to perform optimally. And then also as leaders, we have to be able to facilitate and ensure that the conditions are in place where people can actually perform, actually getting to the space that leadership moves into that opportunity that we create, that space that we create, where people step into and perform optimally, voluntarily, because it is of sufficient motivational nature of them to be in that team. So we will focus on teams and then how to lead teams to high performance. And in that, we will spend some time on 4 very critical concepts that all starts with a C. First, we will talk about leadership character. What does leadership character mean? And in these days that we think about our leaders and we think about leadership in general, we realize that leadership is quite under a lot of pressure and stress to help us to understand what is the benefit and the nature of it. But also realizing that a lot of what leadership is and has to do with who I am and what I bring to the team and to the organization. And therefore, we are first have to identify, but what does leader character mean and what is it that we then bring to the teams? Second C focuses on the call to lead. It's fair enough we talk about character and nature and nurture and whether all of those things are actually in play, But we also have to see leadership as that willingness to lead, to answer the call to lead. For that, we need to find a challenge that actually keep us involved and motivated. Thirdly, we will talk about some competencies. Leadership also requires us to be skilled in certain things, in the way in which we communicate, in the way in which we create the space where teams perform optimally. And fourthly, we'll talk about the conditions that are needed to be in place. How do we create collectively with the team? How do we create the motivational conditions that we have to put in place? What are they? Why are they important? How do they help people to commit to a team? How do they help people to perform into a team? And what are those things that actually collectively with our teams, our leaders have to create this mind space wherein leadership can happen? And that's basically the content what we will use. Now, talking about just the manner in which we will do that, we will focus on a variety of things in the class. We will have open discussions and challenge one another and our views around what we think leadership and teamwork is. We will have chance within smaller groups to discuss and to debate, and also perhaps even have inter-team discussions and differences of opinion. We'll take part in a variety of activities, share some assessments, we learn some tools and techniques also that we can go and apply back into the workplace. So overall, it is a very interactive, a very fascinating time that we will spend together, because it brings together a very fascinating class. A class from various industries, from different parts of the world, from different levels in organizations, different levels of interest and experience. And we use all of that knowledge, that experience to help and share with one another the opportunity to learn, and where we all can learn from one another. And that then sets the scene to just dig one step deeper and to ask then, okay, but if this is about leadership and teams, how do we actually go about to think critically about what our roles and responsibilities in organizations are, and how do we make the decisions to facilitate organizational performance on top of what we do as leaders and in our teams? And that's exactly what you will learn about in Module 2. And that will be facilitated and directed by Nenad Filipović, and therefore my great pleasure to hand over to you, Nenad.
Thank you very much, Drikus, and good afternoon to everybody. So before I talk about my module, maybe just a word or two. I've been with the program since the very beginning, actually, believe it or not, in 2009, when we started the program in Belgrade. We kept it all the time, and of course, we modified it every year. We bring some new topics. We look at things which we find very relevant for the businesses in the region. As Drikus said, we do attract people from all the region. And I think we keep close to our credo, to what we believe in the school, and that is that the relevance goes in different dimensions. Drikus will be spending time with you on leadership, which is not only about leading others, but also leading oneself and understanding what are the issues which make me a good leader in the demanding circumstances. And I'll focus more on the, again, a cross-section between myself, oneself, and the organization. And that is the role of managers in moving the organizations forward by making the right decisions. Now, as you notice also from the title of the program of this module, it's not just about decision-making. It's also checking, and we will actually start the program by doing that, checking some of the things behind good decision-making. And one of them is the ability and readiness to look at the world around us and make our own interpretation of what we see. Now, obviously, this interpretation, we try to make it as good as possible. It is always driven to some degree by our character and attributes, which Drikus mentioned in the leadership course. We add flavor to that, and we, at the end of the day, have to stand behind our interpretation. In making it as good as possible, we try to be independent as thinkers. We, of course, are informed by different sources. We have to find data these days effectively, and these days it is really not that much a problem to find a lot of data about any particular topic we have to decide about. It is really about putting this data together, interpreting this data, and saying what they mean. What does that mean to us? So after we look at the ability to think critically, which means ability to not only collect data, but to structure this thinking and keep this independence of thinking, we will look at more precisely how do we prioritize, and how do we, when we face a very complex business situation, how do we structure this thinking about the situation? How do we prioritize the issues within the situation and make it into a string of decisions that we have to come up with? And then in the continuation, we will look at not only how biases which are around us, why are they, why we fall victims of these biases, but also how we can avoid being led by improper thinking, biases of various kinds, and the influence they may have on our decision. And we will look at what makes a robust decision-making process. In other words, a lot of decisions we make daily are simple, and we don't need particular process in order to make them. But for more complex decisions, very often we are not the only ones to be involved in a particular decision. Sometimes we lead the whole process, and we have to set it up, and we look at what makes a robust, a good process. And finally, we will, in the last day, look at a few other specific aspects. For example, as said, living in the world as it is now, it is very likely that we will be under various sorts of pressure, one of them being to perform high performance, as Drikus mentioned it. Other is the pressure of time, another's stakeholders, very different stakeholders that are expecting lots of things from us, and so on. And we will look at how does decision-making under pressure change in order to, let's say, a more routine one, or one in more stable conditions. What is this pressure bringing? And again, what characteristics of the process and what traits, personal approach to decision-making can help us come up with better decisions. We will, at the end, do two things in bringing everything together. We will go back to the context, and we will look at what is specific in the days of artificial intelligence coming up. How is that informing our decision-making and our quality of thinking? And then at the very, very end of these 3 days, we will finally bring that to your organizations. And I think this is what we always try to do, not to make it an abstract conversation, but engage you in immediate reflection and engage you in bringing your own issues to the table and bringing your own challenges and creating space for an open discussion as much as it can be in that setting where people can be very impartial and share the opinions freely, bringing up also some possibilities of new insights for you, which you can then bring back to your business and use. Now, in all that I have described, topic-wise, a lot of different things, so quite intense program. We will also change the way we work. We will engage in various activities, starting from exercises. Just you get a task, you get a time to do it. We will do it in teams. We will discuss video cases. We will discuss one real paper case. So I will kindly ask you to read it before you come to the program to make sure that we can discuss it thoroughly. And I said, we will have a lot of opportunity to engage in interaction, in conversations. We professors tend to talk a lot, but we will gladly put and give the opportunity for you to stand up, ask your questions, and we will help you, guide you through thinking about certain situations that you face. Now, as said in the beginning, the whole program is meant to be a holistic one. So what do we do with decisions once we make them? That will also be part, to a small degree, part of our conversations during my 3 days. We don't make them just to make them, we make them in order to implement them. And in my opinion, the critical thing which has to be there in the organizations to help decisions being implemented is the organizational capacity of doing projects well, because every decision ends in a smaller or larger project that has to be implemented in the organization. And that's why I'm very happy that after me in November, Nick comes in December to discuss about that perspective. How do we make things happen through the projects in our organizations? So, Nick, I pass the baton to you.
Thank you very much for that. And it's lovely to be here. So yeah, I think as we've heard from my esteemed colleagues, there's a couple of modules before the project management module. And Drikus talked about the 3 C's: character, core, competency, and conditions. And then we heard from Nenad about critical thinking and cognitive biases. So I feel I need my own C. And I think in project management, is about control. In business, there's a requirement to be able to look at the world around us and to interpret what we see, and to make appropriate decisions based on the environment in which the organization works, and that necessarily happens in teams. Yeah, so for me, there's a really big link between Drikus's and Nenad's modules, which is you engage in high-performing teams, you look at what's going on in the world, and you make critical business decisions. And as Nenad said, having done that, you then need to implement those decisions. So for me, there's a really, really strong link between kind of strategy formulation and strategy delivery. So strategy formulation is about deciding what it is that you want to do, and strategy delivery is about how you do it. Yeah, so there's a big link between the what and the how, and project management is about how you do it. One of the things that I would argue is that every single organization at any time is running projects, because project management is about strategy implementation. So in the course which I run, what I aim to do is to look at ways of successfully delivering projects. And one of the questions I ask at the beginning of my courses is to challenge participants to tell me how successful they are at delivering projects. And I think one of the things I recognize in answers is that it varies a lot within organizations, but also it varies a lot depending on the type of project. So what I do in my course is I take an approach to thinking about project management that says, you need to understand your context. You need to understand the nature of the task that you're undertaking. But then you need to be critically aware of what project management can do to help you deliver your project. But also you need to understand what it can't do. Yeah. So for me, the project management module is about things like answering questions like, how do we initiate a project? Yeah, you've undertaken your critical thinking, you've identified a problem statement, you've identified what needs to be done. What you then need to do is you need to initiate a project. You need to start to put a team together. And what you need to start to do is you need to start to breathe life into that project by resourcing it, by thinking about your budget, about thinking about how long it's going to take, thinking about your deliverables. So in the first part of the course, what we do is we start to say, how do you initiate a project? And having done that, what we then do is to say, how do we plan this project? Yeah. And a plan can be a schedule of activities that says what we need to get from A to B. And we then think about how we execute that plan. Yeah. And executing a plan is about time management. It's about cost and quality management. But also it's about some of the softer aspects of project management, like stakeholder management. If you're working in a large organization, I'm sure all of you will recognize that there are always key stakeholders that you have to keep happy. And project management is about ensuring that your project needs are met as specified by your stakeholders. So we think about stakeholder management. And actually, one of the most important topics, I think, in any project management course is about managing risk. And one of the things that I would recognize over the last several years in business is that businesses are getting riskier. Yeah, if we look at the global economic situation at the moment, there's a significant amount of environmental turbulence that's going on through changes in government, through changes in environmental legislation, and also through changes in technology, things like AI. So to be successful as a project manager, you need to be able to manage risks. So this is what the course is about. It's about creating a high-performing team. It's about identifying ways and opportunities of delivering against the strategic priorities of an organization in a way that ensures that you deliver your project on time, on budget, and that you deliver something that is valuable to your organization. So that's my course.
Hey, thank you very much for explaining a little bit in more details, all three of you, what the each model what will cover. All of you, each of you mentioned as well who this program is for. So I suppose our participants also did understand which of the programs is the best fit, or they should go for the whole program, because the advanced management program offers the possibility to enroll to the whole program, or cherry pick and go for the topic that interests them the most. I would invite our participants also to ask their questions. I know we have just a second.
Yeah, I already saw Miroslav's question, and if you allow me, Vera, to answer it since and yes, hello, Miroslav, nice to have you online again. Since you were in our MBA program, I think it's a legitimate question to which degree there is an overlap. First of all, Nick was not in the MBA program, so that is a whole new section, and I'm sure more than welcome to go through it. I think it's really a great one. As far as mine is concerned, there are bits and pieces, few that you have heard, but also there is a lot of new things, new materials. I would say about 2/3 new, a bit somewhere there, 2/3, a little bit more than 2/3 new, and some of the things which I guess you may wish to hear once again to kind of settle down, but not too boring. Drikus, I don't know how do you stand in terms of people who have been in the MBA, whether they would get anything new on your side?
Just about the same. It also depends a little bit about when that was and what was the leadership class that happened at that time. Perhaps there was less emphasis in the leadership one than on the team part that we do in this course. But I think that you probably hit the nail by saying that it's around 2/3 that are new, but there will be some overlap as well. I think there are some elements that are basic enough to have to be covered, and that allows for a chance to listen again to some of that. But there is also new application in different contexts to apply some of those things that we have been exposed to before. And that is always nice to just see how it works out in other contexts.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions, colleagues?
If nobody from no, there is a question. Though the question I believe is about whether the webinar is running, is it working at all? From Jovan, I hope it is working for everyone.
Yeah.
Just to those participants that didn't maybe join us from the very start, we are recording the session, so this recording will be sent to everyone who registered and who could and could not understand. Jovan was just checking whether Q&A is working. Yes, it is working.
It
So
is
go
working
ahead
for all.
and post your question. Yes. Okay. Shall we give? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that question. Actually, it was interesting for me last year when I look at it. When I look at the cross section of people attending that particular module last year, it was probably 50% senior, or even a little bit more of senior management, and then some people who were more operational level. But it was interesting to see the interaction. Obviously, people looked at issues from different perspectives, and then senior people look at it from more strategic perspective and organizational wide perspective, and then a little bit less senior people looked at it from frontline perspective. How do things we discuss are getting done in the front line? What does it mean within a particular sector of the organization? What are the daily challenges that we have? I think it was good complementary view. So yes, absolutely, senior management level is welcome. Absolutely, you can find a lot of benefit. And as I said, I think it's good because we do have not 100% homogeneous audience. We have just enough diversity to make it interesting.
Okay. Maybe Nenad, since you also mentioned that you've been taking part in the advanced management program from its beginning, if you can also give a little bit of information where people come from, because it's the only program that IEDC does in Belgrade, but surprisingly, where do participants come from all over the place, or it's only Serbians?
Thank you, Vera. Yeah, it's funny because although we do it in Belgrade, every year we have at least, let's say, 5+ people from Slovenia, not only from Serbia. Belgrade is well connected, so it's not easy. It's not difficult at all. It's fairly easy, even for people from Serbia, not from people from Slovenia, to use the Brnik airport connection or drive. We get people from region, including Bosnia and Herzegovina, including Romania and Bulgaria. Last year we had a couple of colleagues from Poland, also Czech Republic. So it is getting a little bit more international. Again, a simple hub, easy to come in, and I think also very, very nice facilities. We are doing it in a hotel. We don't have a school there. We're doing it in a hotel. Very nice setting, good classroom to work in, and very friendly staff of the hotel. So from my perspective, if I have to go outside of Bled, not a bad place.
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
Perhaps I will just add from my experience, it's just that I think one of the benefits is not only necessarily where the participants come from, but also from the breadth of the industries that they represent. And I think that a lot of the learning lies in that as well, not only from networking perspective, but also just to know how different industries are doing some of the things that we get to expect in our industry, and that might be just completely different from another. And I think that's something that is hugely beneficial. So if you put that into a cross section to add to the diversity of various nationalities, different levels in an organization, and add the complexity that comes from the different industries to the mix, it's really a very dynamic class.
And Vera, you will send, I guess, to Jovan the details of the program. We have it, so that's not a problem. Just to answer Goran, I think what you will find absolutely all the time is this readiness of us professors in the program to get engaged in the very concrete discussions. I mean, we have among us, we have, I would say, 8 years plus of business experience. And we are capable of talking about quite a few different industry settings, geographical settings, and so on, plus our own areas. I'm general management, Drikus leadership, and Nick, not just projects, but also other issues close to operational life in the companies. And we do like to first stay very close to real life. Now, I mean, of course, we use solid concepts in the background, but it's not really about the concepts, it's about the application. So we look at concrete cases. Some of them we bring into the classroom, and some of them we ask you to come up with. And absolutely, it is all about the application, being concrete, and when you go home, that you will be able to apply the learning from the program.
Okay. Any more questions from the audience? It seems so far we covered everything. If there are no more questions, we would like to thank everybody for joining us. Big thanks to all our lecturers also to find time to do it live. I think it's an experience that cannot be replaced, so that people can also directly to communicate with you. For other details on how to apply for the program, you can, of course, turn to me and my colleague Albina Ribic, who is responsible for executive education for the consulting on which programs fit the best to your needs. Regarding advanced management program, one small comment still to mention that there is also an early bird application fee of that applies for applications until September 7th. But for the rest of the details, please check the website, and we'll send you all the extra information on what and where and how in an email afterwards. So thank you very much, and see you hopefully, well, some of you in Belgrade, but the rest also you're welcome to check other programs in Bled at IEDC. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.